Peace, peace, peace. You are now tuned into the vault. This is your host, Sharif Ali. Just want to thank you for tuning in live. I want to thank you for listening if you're live or in the replay. Want to thank you all so much. So excited to come to you on this glorious day, August 15th, 2017. Just another glorious day to bring you all some amazing content. This episode is going to be about birth certificates, trade names, and social security numbers. Just want to thank you all for joining me. Want to start out as we always do, giving a special appreciation to the universe, the ancestors, and the creator, because I just think it's always good to start out in a position of thanks to move forth. Want to give a shout out to Jalil Ali. Peace. Thank you for shouting out live, and we'll move forward from there. So, like I said, today's episode is about birth certificates, trade names, social security numbers. I really wanted to do this episode because I thought about when I was 18 years old. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 18 years old, and I think that a lot of people um, really don't think like entrepreneurs. Charlie, peace. How you doing? Thank you for joining us live. I think a lot of people don't think like entrepreneurs, and I really wanted to talk about this topic from a very unique perspective. I know that we've gone through hundreds of years of different transitions, but I definitely am going to give some historical reference for you all to think about so you can move forward in your lives to make things a lot more efficient and effective in your life. So, thank you all for joining me, and let us begin. I want to just start out with saying that United States is a capitalist society, and I think that a lot of people don't understand that. They don't know that. They think that this is some type of socialist society. They hear democracy, but they don't understand that in every constitution it says that it's a republic. Even inside of the actual United States Constitution, it says that we live in a republic. That is a free society. That's a free market society. And I really wanted to put this out for the younger brothers and sisters that's coming up under us, because I don't want them to walk out in society and think that getting a job is great. I do employ people. I have no problem with hiring people as an entrepreneur. But that's not the first mentality we are to have in this particular jurisdiction. In other jurisdictions around the world, maybe you can think about that because the government's in control. But over here, it is laissez-faire. What that means, you have the opportunity to open up a business, whether it's a statutory entity or a private entity, and do that almost, with the private entity, you can do that based off of a contract. Whereas in the public, statutory entity, you might have to pay a couple $100. The most I've seen is in Illinois, where their LLCs might cost $600. But the point is that you have the opportunity of free enterprise to open up your own company. You can open up a company selling lighters. You can open up a company that's fixing people's tires. 20 years ago, there was no Google Maps. 20 years ago, there was no Facebook. 20 years ago, there was no YouTube. So, for someone not to be prepared to open up a business in this society, it is a disadvantaged perspective. So, I wanted to start out letting us know that we have to come at this from a very strategic position, and that's coming from an entrepreneur based mentality. And that leads me into what is a birth certificate. When you look at your birth certificate, it says it's written on American banknote paper, not in all states, but it's written on certificate paper. That's not an accident. It's letting you know we're living in a certificate based society. That's why people even have marriage certificates. We live in a society that's based off of contracts. Okay, even when you talk about trade names are based off of contracts. Social security numbers. I've had friends that I've had friends that they would be in high school and they didn't have a social security number. And we lived in well-to-do areas, and it was like, dang, your parents are well-to-do. Why don't you have a social security number? And they had structures in place to enable where their children didn't have to have a social security number. And I want to come at it from the perspective of understanding that we are in commerce. When you are born in the United States, you are born into a commercial jurisdiction. That is for your children and for you to understand. That's not on the United States to let you know that. That's not their job. That's for you to instruct your family members that we are in a business environment. We're not into, when I see, Moorish brothers and sisters, or, Hebrew brothers and sisters, or, Nation of Gods and Five Percenters, and what is that? The Nation of Islam. Those things don't matter. You either are going to make money in this jurisdiction or you're going to be broke. And guess what? If you want a handout in this jurisdiction, you'll get the last. You won't get the first. So when people say, oh, the last will be first and the first will be last, that's only in heaven. That's not happening here down on this planet. On this planet, you actually have to understand the rules to the environment that you're in. A rule of it, this environment is gravity. If you jump, you're going to go back down. Well, it's the same thing with this land that you're standing on, calling it the United States of America. You are in a commercial jurisdiction. Whether the Europeans created or whoever created it, it really doesn't matter at this point. So when I hear, people stating that, oh, the birth certificate, it's wrong for them to make people get birth certificates. It's wrong for them to make people get social security numbers. No, it's not. It's here for you to do business. This is to hold you accountable so you can pay up on your debts. Because previous to those things, people weren't paying up on their debts. I'll give you a historical perspective. Prior to 1933, people didn't have social security numbers. So what were they using to tax individuals then? See, the average individual doesn't have the capacity to think back and do the research, the prerequisite history to know. There were still taxes in place. But I'm going to share something with you. Do you understand that the United States separated from England because of taxes? They separated because they didn't want to have people taxed personally. They wanted to put entities in place to encourage people to do charity. This whole society is based off of charity. You can't tell me any college that wasn't started off. Most of the colleges that were started out by private people that have given endowments to start the schools. It's the same thing with the hospitals. It's the same thing with the counties. That's why you see the county is founded by somebody. I remember recently when I went to Chicago, and it was founded by a brother, an African American man. And look at the city. It doesn't reflect that it was founded by African American. Why? Because half of the African Americans, and I am guaranteeing you this, that they do not own businesses in that jurisdiction. They're employees. That's why they don't reflect the jurisdiction. The jurisdictions are based off of ownership, based off of control, based off of business acumen. So am I against having people with psychology degrees? Not at all. But is that really going to help society in the respect of employing people and growing jobs? So when people talk about the birth certificate, the trade name, the social security number, those are all commercial instruments. They're all things that you have a choice to choose to either use or not use. Thank you, Andre, for joining live. Greg, for joining live. Appreciate you all. Thank you for saying something live on the chat. Always appreciate interaction on the chat. So I know a lot of people, and I encourage you all to ask questions. I know some people want to know things from the UCC perspective. I could speak on it from the UCC perspective. I have a UCC file. It's a contract. It's a public filing notice. Why would you not have a UCC put on file? I just mentioned to you that you are in a commercial jurisdiction. That means you need to put them on notice that there is a natural man doing business in a commercial jurisdiction. A natural woman doing business in a commercial jurisdiction with a commercial name, and that's usually called a trade name. It's usually called a social security number. So yes, you do need to put them on notice that you are in a commercial jurisdiction. They are a commercial entity. The United States is a commercial entity. It's not a human. It is a group of natural people that are doing business together. They're going to uphold the statutory domestic jurisdictional laws. And that's my problem with society almost is why are people so adverse to doing business in a jurisdiction? It's because, I'm going to tell you, this is the only reason. It's because they don't understand the laws of the jurisdiction. It's like wondering why you got to eat certain foods. It's wondering why you got to stay healthy, eat health-wise. You got to stay healthy because if you don't eat healthy, you're going to not have good health. It's that simple. So you're going to have a bad relationship with the jurisdiction that you're in, with the birth certificate, with the trade name, with the social security number, if you don't have the proper perspective in the jurisdiction, if you don't know the law in a jurisdiction. Every county in the United States that has a courthouse has a law library. Why is it that they have to say you can't give legal advice? It's the law of the land. But you want to know why? Because it's commercial. It's all about commerce. It's about liability. Who's liable? Birth certificate, trade name, the social security number. Who's liable? Is the government liable? Do they have to pay off your debts? and abscond your debt if you file bankruptcy with your social security number? Who pays that money ultimately? Who pays that money? Or do you practice a form of double bookkeeping, double entry bookkeeping with accounting? That's what happens. See, I just want people to understand this, and the younger generation understand that we are living in a commercial jurisdiction. So that's why you have a birth certificate. Your trade name is the name you use in business. You can stop using your natural name at any time and go use a commercial name. They're all commercial names. Why? Because the United States is a commercial jurisdiction. It's not a natural jurisdiction with natural people. That's not the case. They protect your naturalness. They had to create a commercial situation in place when you understand the laws that are governing the United States. Once again, the common law of England, English law. They put what they call a feudal system in place, where when you see those words like lords, and they had kings, and they were lording over lands and caretaking for lands and things of that nature. Even a system that they currently have in place with governors and mayors, those aren't people that are in a position of authority. They're in a position of servitude. They serve the people. Why? Because if the people didn't participate in elections, they would never get elected. See, people don't understand that we live in that type of society where you elect your leaders, quote unquote. So they're not a leader until you elect them. So, I just wanted to put this out there, because I know if I was out there when I was 18, 19, I would want to hear somebody tell me that it's all about getting your business game up. It's all about understanding the business law that you're in. I remember when I was younger and I would read Robert Kiyosaki, and he would say that there's only 2 degrees worth getting: an accounting degree and a business law degree. And that's funny, because those are exactly the fields that I went into, which was understanding business law and practicing accounting with my own entities, or the entities that I administer as a private trustee. And I just encourage the younger generation to understand that we are in a commercial system. There's no way around it. You can't be mad at it. If you don't want to be in a commercial system, either go live in the woods somewhere or move out the country. But I'm letting you all know that are in the United States that when you wake up every day, it's not about punching in the clock. It's about waking up and taking, quote unquote, ownership and more control over your time and over your life. Whether you have a birth certificate or you have a trade name or not, traditionally you're going to have a trade name or a trademark. Why? Because you should be able to sue people if somebody's using property that you're maintaining. If somebody can defraud your property. Thank you, Eli. Thank you so much for tuning in live. Appreciate you. It's so important for the younger generation to understand that. I think so many people are mad about the jurisdiction you're in, and they like, oh, the United States is this, the United States is that. Last time I checked, if it wasn't for Caucasians going to war for us, we wouldn't even be free as African Americans. So I'm very thankful of the commercial jurisdiction that I'm in. Whether we went through an atrocity in America and things are it was rough at one point in time, last time I checked, we're able to walk around and not get hosed down. We're able to walk and use public bathrooms. That's very important. I don't want to have to. I remember recently watching that movie. If you haven't got a chance to see it, it was the movie with the sisters, and they were doing the airspace mission where they helped send the first individuals into space and circle the moon and actually come back to Earth and land successfully. One of the sisters, she had to run like over a mile, they said, which is a 20-minute. If you're a good runner, you could run it in 10 minutes. And she probably walked it and took her time, but she had to walk over a mile on campus just to use the bathroom. So when we went through a situation where we were already integrated into the society, but we needed to get better laws in place for us to maneuver in a commercial jurisdiction, which are called civil rights, those are called commercial rights, we were able to use bathrooms in a more successful manner. Now you don't have to, she wouldn't have had to walk a mile to use the bathroom. I think that those things are important, but we had to have commercial laws put in place for us to operate in this society. If you want to call yourself African American, black, whatever, we were brought over here as property. If you weren't, then you don't have to experience that story. But my ancestors did. So that story is, at the end of the day, we're in a commercial jurisdiction. We should be the best at commerce. Because we understand commerce. We should understand what property is. We should understand how to administer property laws. period. There's nothing wrong with the commercial system. I can promise you that. There's nothing wrong with this system. If you think that there's something wrong with this system, you probably going to die old and mad and hungry. Because I'm going to share with you all statistics about this society and what it produces. If you have a job, if you follow the system of go to school, get an education, and get a job, let me go to this in my phone, because I definitely say this. This is from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, okay? This is not Sharif Ali. This is coming from the Social Security Administration. They say that 55% of the people, when they reach the age of 65, this is a study they've done since they've issued Social Security numbers. So it's not me. This is the reality of the situation that you're going to have to face as a normal man or woman living in this society if you have a job. And that's your choice whether you have a job or not. You can create jobs. That's why they have EINs. It's a choice to use a Social Security number. You don't have to use a Social Security number. So when I hear people say, oh, well, we were issued Social Security numbers, you can create a new trade name and you can use a new number, which is called a, what is that? It's called a EIN number, and do business with it. So, just give me a second here to pull up this statistical thing, because I know a lot of people say, here's the facts. This is the facts. This is the source. Bureau of Statistics and Department of Social Security. By the time that out of 100 people, 55% of the people are going to be dead broke. The next 36% are going to, the next 30% are going to be dead. The next 5%, they're going to be working. It says continue working. It says the next 4%, they're going to be financially secure, and the next 1% is going to be going to be wealthy. Okay, that's not Sharif Ali. Don't get mad at me. You don't need to get mad at the stats either. You need to look at the stats and you need to say, you know what? This is the way I need to operate. I need to find out how to get wealthy. I don't need to be waiting until I'm 65 years old and end up in some retirement home where somebody's trying to give me some pills. They barely want to help me take a bath and things of that nature. This is for those people. This isn't for everybody. I know everybody's not going to enjoy this recording because it doesn't sound like, oh, what school taught me and all that other good stuff. Well, guess what? School was taught to you by employees. It was put in place by John D. Rockefeller with the General Education Board. And it was started out through the General Education Board and Friends. You can Google that. That's not Sharif Ali. See, I talk facts. I don't need to come on the air and waste my time wasting my breath with people. I really don't. I actually enjoy my family. I enjoy doing charity. And I enjoy speaking to people and letting them know the truth. That's why I'm on the air. So, once again, when it comes down to you understanding the stats, it's definitely important to look at the stats. It's like saying if you don't cut your grass, your yard's going to look bad. Well, it's the same thing. If you don't put yourself in the right mindset of how to operate into this jurisdiction successfully, you will perish. It said it right there. That's not me. You all can Google those things. The General Education Board and Friends is something you all can Google and see that J.D. Rockefeller created. He created many of the other HBCUs. So when I hear brothers and sisters telling me they're going to HBCUs and glory let it be, I'm sitting there thinking like, what do you mean? You went to Morehouse. Rockefeller started that college. How was it started by African Americans? It wasn't. I'm not mad at you for going there. I'm happy you went there. That's awesome. But just, when you say historically black college, does that mean that it was founded by African Americans? Or are you stating that a lot of people traditionally went there were African Americans? Because is that what you're saying? You all can Google that J.D. Rockefeller started Morehouse and Spelman. So, when I get that whole HBCU conversation, I'm just like, I'm not a big fan of it. It's a school. Just go to it. Have fun. Do what you need to do. Learn what you need to learn. I thought I would get a lot more questions about the UCC perspective on this with the birth certificate, trade name, and social security number, because I know a lot of people that want to protect their natural selves, and I think that that's important. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. I definitely say you need to have one of those in place. Now, do I educate and teach people on that directly? Not necessarily, but can I put you in sources that have given me the proper education on that tool? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Because Everything comes, the one thing I can assure you all is I come from a system of mentorship. I come from a system of mentorship with contracts. I come from a system of mentorship with private trustee training. I come from a mentorship of even my spirituality. All of it comes from mentorship. I've had things given to me that were passed down from generations. So I'm not just sitting on the air talking about things that I just came up cockamamie. Oh, this is the way the society should be. No, I'm not. I was one of those people that made a decision early in life. I said, okay, the first thing I'm going to do as a brother in this society is I'm going to learn the rules of this society. Why? Because it seems to me that we were getting hit hard by just not even knowing the laws of the jurisdiction. A birth certificate, a trade name. Well, let's just go. People say, what about the birth certificate? Is that a United States person? Yes, it is. So since it's a United States person, keyword U.S. person, that means that it is a commercial entity. Why? Because it is the United States is a commercial entity, period. The trade name. The trade name is where you have some wiggle room. Why? Because a trade name is any name that you use in commerce. Okay, and once again, commerce is where you're using it to generate Federal Reserve notes or currency or money, whatever you want to call it. See, people want to throw around this currency and money term right now, but I know what real money is. Real money is gold and silver. People say, oh, it's not real money because they don't even use it in the society. Well, okay, you can use the word currency. Currency is what they're using in the society right now. Okay, it's still a form of money. Okay. So what I'm saying to you is understand that yes, money and currency are thrown around very interchangeably, just like it's a republic and it's a democracy are thrown around right now. I don't see any legal documentation. I see legal documentation, but I don't see any lawful documentation that says we live in a democracy. I do see lawful lawful documents that state that we live in a republic, especially if you live in a Republican state or a republic state. Okay, but back to the trade name. A trade name is a name that you're using in commerce. When I say you're using, it is a name that you're using to do business with. That doesn't mean that you own it. That means you can control it. Just like you control the name that you're using in commerce now. Why? Because you are never in commerce. I think that was the biggest and easiest part that I was able to switch my mind out of, was separating the artificial me, which is my business names that I utilize in the public, and then my natural self. My natural self, my natural, somebody wanted to call me whatever they want to call me, that's fine. That's natural. But when it comes to commerce, commerce is where that name is taxable. That name has a tax obligation. That's a trade name. Okay? And then when it comes to even social security number, there's some more wiggle room. You don't have to use the social security number. You can use a private it's not private, but you can use a EIN number, which is an employer identification number. A lot of people say, oh, you have to use your social in commerce. That's because you're uninformed. You don't come from a private perspective. You don't come from a private family. I do. I come from that private perspective, which lets you know you don't have to use a social. It's so unfortunate how many people are literally going to live their whole life. They're going to become a social security number statistic, which I've already read out, and they're going to die, and they never would have been able to pass on wealth to the next generation without having to put it in the without putting it in the correct tax position. If you have everything tied to you when you die and you don't have a will or a trust in place, and that's why I have trustee training, you're gonna get taxed out of your wealth. Literally, half or 2/3 of what you literally spent your life making is going to be passed on. Is going to be taxed. That's the facts. That's called probate tax. That's called death tax. That's called inheritance tax. See, this is the information that no one wants to talk about. All they want to do is tell you, go start a business. I'm not telling you to start a business. I'm telling you to be an entrepreneur. I'm telling you to be smart. I'm telling you to go out and create businesses that you control, not that you own. Because if you own it, you can be taxed for it. If you own it, you can be sued for it. That's why I encourage people to get in trustee training. People say, well, do you have to have money to get in trustee? Do you have to have money to own a trust and all that good stuff? It's like, or you shouldn't own a trust in the first place, but You should put yourself in a position where you can own nothing, control everything, because whatever you own, you can be sued for or taxed for. So put yourself in a position where you can continue to benefit from your car, benefit from your house, benefit from your cell phone, benefit from the clothing that you're wearing, benefit even from the vacations that you're taking, because they're business trips now, as you administering the private entity or the business entity that you're using. See, a lot of people don't know how to come from that perspective. Why? Because they've been given a public education. Yeah, you got a degree in finance. Yeah, you got an MBA. I sit in front of those people all the time, and they have no clue about private lifestyle at all. And then when they hear where I come from, how I walk into a bank and literally open up a bank without using a social security number, open it up with a contract that I drafted and got notarized. That's legal. Every day. That's what we instructing trustees to do. I'm not encouraging you to go in there and own anything, because you can be taxed or you can be liable for it as far as us lawsuit. So I'm going to answer a quick question real quick. Andre Woods says, so if my intentions are to go totally private, that's cool. That's awesome. He says, is it required to return your birth certificate or go through a process of claiming your sovereignty? And this is why, I feel so much for the public community, is because there's so much misinformation in the public about the word sovereignty. It's like you're in a commercial jurisdiction. So claiming that you're sovereign, it's like, so that's like saying you don't even want the military that's around you to protect you. Last time I checked, like I say, there are no one posing a threat to the United States right now. I don't care about that situation that's going on the news with North Korea. Did you know that North Korea is smaller than the state of Florida? Okay? Florida. You're talking about a country, and then you're living in a country where Texas is bigger than their entire country. Okay? So they're not blasting off no rockets nowhere, and they ain't landing over here, and you already know. You are in one of the most heavily armed jurisdictions in the world. Be praised and thankful that you live in that jurisdiction. It's so unfortunate that our people come from this perspective of, I just want to claim my independence and be private and claim my sovereignty. It's like, all right, well, go live on one of them, go in one of them other countries and see how it is over there and claiming your sovereignty. This is a free jurisdiction. When I say sovereignty, it's free. Okay, you can roam from one state to the next, and y'all need to be prepared for that. Y'all can go look up the Real ID Act. I encourage you all to go do that, because there are laws that are changing, almost saying that they want you to have a passport to travel from state to state because of this illegal immigration situation, and you all might not even know about it. So there are commercial things that they're putting in place for you to just commercially address yourself. So if you look, they need to know that you're bonded. They need to know that you're going to be accountable for your debts. You can go to jail for debts. Did you know that? You can go to jail for child support. So you can go to jail for a debt. Don't think you can't go to jail for a debt. Oh, I'm going to just get out of this debt. No, you can go to jail for a debt. Okay? So it's commerce. It's business. How you going to pay your debt if you're in jail? Why you think now they say jail is you paying your debt to society because you broke society's commercial laws? Are they all right? I'm not saying they're all right, brothers and sisters. I'm not saying that they're all right. What I'm saying to you is that you have to understand that you're in a commercial jurisdiction and not make bad commercial decisions. I was talking to someone earlier, and I am going to finish answering your question, Andre. I was talking to someone earlier, and we were talking about trust and trust administration, and I was letting them know, I was like, look, trust makes people have the highest level of integrity and accountability. Because when you're inside of a trust vehicle, you're focused on growing the assets. See, I don't get this broke mentality of, well, it's a bad year, babe. We're not doing well. What do you mean? How are you going to be broke? You got to eat every day. That's like saying, oh, I'm not going to eat today. I'm not going to breathe today. Every day you're supposed to be getting better. That means you have to grow. Get out of that mentality of lack. There is no lack. How are you going to say there's lack and you don't even know how many days the planet's been revolving around the sun? You don't know how much air you're going to get. You don't know anything of that nature. So there is no lack in the universe. That is a farce mentality. That's a fear-based mentality. There is no lack. There's only abundance. And the more you curate that thought of abundance and freedom in your mindset, the further off you're being in life. That's what I have. That's why I'm able to not have a job and sit around and travel and help people privately through trustee training and things of that nature, because that's what I focus on, having abundance. Okay? He says, is it required to return your birth certificate? Look, I'm going to tell you once again, Andre, I'm not going into, I'm not giving away no birth certificate for the United States. This is once again one of the more freer societies. You can move to places, other places in the world. I don't discourage it. But what I'm saying is while you're in this jurisdiction, you want, man, I'm telling you, with that Real ID Act, the way that they're tightening up with these situations right now, when it comes to this illegal immigration situation, having a birth certificate is definitely going to be one of the most key and essential tools to have to operate in this jurisdiction and travel freely. I'm not trying to have no brother and sister get slaughtered like Corrigan Gaines did. Rest in peace. She's wanting to claim sovereignty and have an issue with the police. Look, if you ain't got a gun on your hip and ready to do a shootout, you might as well chill out. And go and deal with the commercial people, whether they're police or judges or whoever, in a commercial manner. They're all commercial. They all have bonds. It's commerce. We need to learn how to handle our business affairs correctly, not get all adverse and, oh, I have a problem with these people and they're wrong. Let's look at it from a business perspective. And the thing about it is, and I can share with you all, is in the West, the philosophy of the West is win-lose. So that's our issue. We think if one person's winning, the other person's losing. That's how it is. Oh, I'm losing this, I'm losing that. You're always losing something. No, you're just making room for more good to come in. That's how I look at it. I'm making more room for good to come in. When I move from one place to the next, I'm not losing or missing anything. You understand the Eastern philosophy? Eastern philosophy says, let's create a win-win situation. What can you do to help out the United States? There's a famous quote by John F. Kennedy. He says, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. You have to have the mindset of, I own this and I'm going to make it better. That's how the elite operate. And they operate from a position of control. They don't operate from a position of ownership. So I don't recommend giving up the birth certificate. Once again, you can claim it because you can claim it as a utility tool when you're doing your UCC. In that respect, why? You can claim it, and I recommend you claim it. Why? Because it is a commercial instrument that you're utilizing to transact and do business with. Once again, you're doing business with the United States. How you gonna have any type of standing? We already know that it's not a natural, quote-unquote, birth certificate. It's a commercial birth certificate. That's the real talk. Y'all know that. So why are we acting brand new on that subject? Oh, well, it's a birth certificate. It doesn't describe my naturalness. I know. You should create a private document, which the United States honors. It's called Article 1, Section 10. You can cite that even in your document, that no state can impair the obligation of your contract, and you are creating a document that states that I am a natural being and I'm utilizing commercial instruments. See, I'm going to tell you what you all's disadvantages is that you're not going to the law library. The law library is where it's at. Now, I can tell you, I've traveled. I can run through the list of law libraries, and one of the best law libraries that I am in contact with right now is the San Francisco Law Library. It's been a great law library. Whereas I've been in SoCal, I've been in Orange County, I've been to LA, I've been to Chicago, I've been to DC, I've been to Maryland, I've been to Atlanta, I've been to Florida, I've been to Texas. I've been quite a few places, and I've seen their law libraries, and I mean, Atlanta's was just despicable. At least the Fulton County one, maybe. Actually, Fulton County, I don't think I got the Fulton County, but I know I got to I think the Atlanta Law Library, and I mean, they were doing renovations. So sometimes you might run in that situation where renovations are there and they don't have the books that you need. But that's why I encourage you all to get in private trustee training, so you can have access to other people that have access to other law libraries, because in the law library it shares with you how to draft contracts. So you don't need to be a crybaby and be like, oh, well, do I have to get a lawyer for this information? It's called go invest your time in the law library. For the next 16 weeks, become a champion like someone is in the NFL. Go to the law library once a week and win a championship for your family. Go learn contract law once a week. They play a game once a week. Go play the game once a week. Carve it into your schedule for 16 weeks and see how much more you become a better person. So thank you all for tuning in live. I appreciate it. I'm going to go definitely keep rolling. We got Yvette Gardner. She's asking a question. She says, peace. She says she's from Flatbush. I guess that's New Jersey. Uh, can you please explain more about the UCC filing when starting a business? So ultimately, I don't. I come at it from putting people on public. I put the public officials in the jurisdiction who are public servants. I put them on notice that I'm a natural man in their jurisdiction. Why? Because each jurisdiction is a commercial jurisdiction. Through an informational filing. You're welcome, Andre. And I put them on notice through informational filing. So, a lot of people talk about the 9 UCC. I'ma just be straight from you. Oh, Brooklyn, New York. Shout out to Brooklyn, New York. Everybody, I know it's kind of late on that side of the country. It's 8:30. It's probably super dark where you guys are. I'm not on the East Coast right now, but um, you know, uh, uh, you know, dang, I almost lost my point. But point being is the UCC filing, like I say, is for commercial purposes, letting someone know in a commercial jurisdiction. Like I say, if you all don't understand that this is commerce, you're gonna have a hard time. Your life's gonna be hard for you. You're gonna wake up every day saying, "Man, I need a paycheck." Think about how challenging it is as an entrepreneur to wake up every day and say, "I have to go kill my food." I don't know where the little fox or the hare or the rabbit or the bull or wherever it is in the wilderness, I gotta go kill it. That's the hunter-gatherer mentality. It's not the go and sit and wait mentality. And everyone knows after the first 90 days at a job, you usually have learned all you need to know. And now you're just doing routine. You're operating off the whole process subconsciously. So, a lot of people come at the UCC even with that perspective of a non-UCC. And I can tell you all, brothers and sisters, I told you I have a private mentor and contracts, and specifically UCC. I can tell you all for sure. Anyone that's talking about some non-UCC does not know what they're talking about. And if they're utilizing it as a informational filing, that's perfectly fine. But that's an informational filing. That's not the original filing document. The non-UCC. Why would you use a commercial registry and say you're going to utilize it from a perspective of I'm not using the commercial registry aspect of it? Well, what are you doing? The whole purpose is to have a protection in a commercial jurisdiction, a commercial aspect, not to have what you interpret it as. See, I'm going to tell you all the benefit of the jurisdiction that we live in. We live in a quote-unquote common law or English law society. That means it's almost judge-made law, stare decisis, which goes off a prior case law. That's awesome. Judges have already made the judgment. We don't need to go back and interpret the law. We have people that have JDs to interpret the law already. All we need to do is go back and cite it now. See, that's the difference. You got these brothers and sisters out here trying to interpret the law instead of just citing the law. I cite the law. I don't interpret it. There's a big difference. This one lady the other day tried to say, "Oh, you give tax advice." Okay, are you intelligent or are you not? In the description, it says, "I do not give out legal advice. I do not give out tax advice." Okay? Did you know Susie Orman is not a financial advisor? Oh, so how is she giving financial advice then? She's not. See, there's a way that private people know how to protect themselves, and there's a way public people, they don't, because they're liabilities. And she's a liability. She wants to talk about having a license to talk about taxes. You think rich people don't talk about taxes? They hire attorneys. I told you all. My mentor encouraged me. When I used to come to him, I said, "Look, this is 2 years in a row, you all." I said, "Look, first year I said, all right, I'm going to go get my paralegal. I'm going to get some paralegal knowledge because I need to learn how to draft contracts." He said, "First of all, they're in the law library. There are sample contracts by attorneys and people in the public for those things. You can learn how to do that." So I went to the law library even more. I doubled down on it because I already was going, but that just let me know, okay, he's my mentor. He instructed me in trust law. And he knows what he's talking about. Why? Because a trust is a contract, and I know that I have the best contracts and the best trustee training out there. So he said that. So I was like, okay, cool. He's like, we don't need to know how to draft a contract. We hire people for that. I said, okay. So that was my paralegal experience. Then I said, okay, I told you all the best 2 degrees from what Robert Kiyosaki states is a business law degree and an accounting degree. He said, I went to him the next year. I said, all right, money's getting big in the trust. I need to know accounting. I need to go to school for an accounting and get the trust to pay for it. He said, you don't need to do that. Why? Because you hire an accountant. Hire people smarter than you in that subject. So that's what I did. I made things easier on myself, you know, hiring smart people. So now I know how to pick the right people, not just be the right person, you know. So when it comes to you understanding, UCC and contract law, like I said, I do have a mentor. I have no problem with putting you all in touch with him privately. You all can email me at hfrn.vault@gmail.com. I'm not going to tell you what services are cheap, because I don't think you should be cheap in your life. I think you should find everything extravagant and expensive and luxurious. Everyone should be wined and dined. Our ancestors were not able to sleep on white sheets, and that's what I sleep on, white sheets. You know, I make it a point to eat at the finest places. I make sure to wear the finest things because my ancestors said, look, we are going to sacrifice ourselves to put you in a better position in life. Please take advantage of it. And you best believe I'm going to do it. And that is why I am giving back to our people right now through the air, is because I understand that they're not going to go to a public school and get a private education. That is the disadvantage. There's different educations at different schools. Well, guess what? In private trustee training, Sharif Ali is the individual that started trustee training in the public for individuals to learn how to administer their trust. Just like you all know that the whole situation with the social security number is a trust situation. You are administering it. And once again, isn't in that situation you have to hire a CPA or an attorney? Right. You're not the attorney. You can't practice that. CPA, you can't practice that. So you have to hire those people. That's called you being a trustee. The only disadvantage of that social security number is the fact that you are the beneficiary. That means there's no true distinction between the legal owner and the equitable title holder. In a trust, there's legal title and there's equitable title. So guess what? In a position that the social security number is in, it's in a position of legal title and equitable title position. You know what I mean? You gotta put yourself in a position where you just control it from a legal perspective, not from an equitable position. A lot of people, you'll hear this one. And this is where I'll share a gem with you all, because no one ever says this in the public, and I hope you all memorize this. They always say, and I read this in a legal book the other day, and it verified it. It says, in property law, specifically in property law, it says possessions is 9/10 of the law, or makes 9/10 of the law. Possession, right? Okay, so what's the other 1%? Okay, see, people don't know the difference in how to hold property. All property is held in some type of entity, particularly a trust that I'm going to refer to. So the other aspect of legal title, the 9%, the 1%, equitable title is the 9%. Legal title was the 1%. Who holds legal title in the United States? The United States does. Why? Because they're in bankruptcy right now. Why? Because they said that they need to borrow people's legal information, legal status, so they can keep afloat, to keep you protected. That's what they're doing right now. Whether they're doing it correctly or right or all this good stuff, like I said, it's pretty safe right now for me and your family. Are there atrocities that happen? We do live in a universe. There are righteous and unrighteous sides to everything. But for the most part, women's rights are at an all-time high. I'm sure a lot of women are happy that they can go out and do business in many jurisdictions and operate appropriately. That is commercial laws that have been passed for women to have commercial rights. That was not always the case. And if you all want to move to the Middle East, you all can experience, women specifically can move over there and see what the benefits are of being a woman. I have friends from India. I have friends from Pakistan. I have friends from even North Africa. When friends want to say, oh, I want to move to Africa. Yeah, okay, I have friends from Egypt. And they're Muslim. And they tell me there's no benefit for a woman to be in this society because they don't have any rights. In Morocco. So when you think that you have it so tough here in the United States, give me a break. Please understand we live in a commercial jurisdiction and make money. But just do it from a capacity where you're going to be happy. And so the happiness comes in now with you all learning how to administer your life from a trust. Like I say, brothers and sisters, I've had people tell me, do not talk to people about trust information. Do not do trustee training. I had one of my mentors tell me that. He said, please. He said the average individual doesn't even have the assets to put in a trust. And he says, secondly, it's no reason to put them in a trust because it's going to take them forever to learn how to administer it. And I said, nah, man, people are smart. They can get it. They can get it. And that's why I'm still in the public, making it a point to make sure that people can get that level of education with private trustee training. So if you would like to get in trustee training, once again, you can email me at hfrn.vault@gmail.com and get in private trustee training. If you would even like a consultation, hfrn.vault at gmail.com, and you can learn how to administer your life from a control everything and own nothing perspective, from a trustee perspective, because that is the highest position to live your life at. I already know why people don't stick with this information, because they don't want to be accountable, because they want to cheat on their wives, because they don't want to take care, they don't want to be a man of their word or a woman of their word. That's why. Because when you're in a trust, the only thing you're supposed to do is grow the assets. How hard is that? Jeez, it's like, are you serious? You're supposed to, so you're trying to tell me you think that there's an option for you to not eat today? I don't think that's an option. I think everyone should eat today. That's why my charity makes it a point to give out food to people, because I know that if you at least have food, you have some type of strength to go out and change your life. So, I just wanted to talk today about these instruments, and I really wanted to share it for the youth. I see so many of our youth coming up, and they just are so ticked off. Brothers and sisters, and ladies and gentlemen in general, oh man, this jurisdiction, United States, is such a bad jurisdiction. What do you mean? You want to go somewhere else? Go experience those jurisdictions. Don't tell me that this jurisdiction is bad. This is a great jurisdiction to be in. It allows you to do business. You all can literally open up a business tomorrow for less than $1,000. Like I say, Louisiana. I mean, not Louisiana. Illinois is just a ripoff for their LLCs. Talking about it's $600. It might even went up, more than that. But for the most part, you can go start a corporation for less than $200 and start generating wealth with an EIN at any moment. Where else can you do that? I'm being real with you all. You have to think about that. Where else are you going to be able to do that? So, do you want protection on the natural side, not just the commercial side? I definitely recommend you do that. And is the UCC one of those methods to do that? Yes, it is. Are there other ways to do that as far as creating a document, a notice? See, the United States is all about notice. Just put them on notice. Why? Because it's all about liability in this jurisdiction. It's all about liability. They don't want to get sued. People don't want to get sued. So, it's all about liability. And when you can put them in a position of, I put you on notice, Governor, I put you on notice, Mayor, and I let you know I was not operating in a commercial capacity, I'm in a private capacity. Now there's a fee schedule in place. That's what happens. And now you know how to administer it from a private capacity. Thank you, Do For Self. Now I appreciate you giving me that thanks and praise. But you have to know how to operate in a commercial capacity. There should be more business schools, less employee schools. I'm going to do an episode tomorrow on this YouTube about skills versus intelligence, because people think that it's okay to just dig ditches. I am not a fan of digging ditches. I am about creating a machine that can dig ditches. Okay? So when it comes to you doing things in this society, it's about you utilizing your intelligence. Period. It's not about your skills anymore. I was thinking about it the other day about this company. There's a company called Tesla, and guess what? That car does not run on gas. That means it doesn't run on oil. So what happens to mechanics that change oil and do all those different things that involve oil-based cars? In 40 years, there will be less of a need for mechanics. And you all know there will be, my grandmother and my grandfather, they worked for the Washington Post. They were sitting there pushing buttons. Guess what? They were getting paid over $30 an hour, and eventually they got bought out because the Washington Post had to cut their expenses. And then the people that they hired, they put them in place for $15. And then guess what? Now the Washington Post has downsized to almost having their newspaper online. See, this is an intelligent society. This is a free society where you can flex your intelligence. It's time for you to do business in an intelligent way, as well utilizing your skills, but in an intelligent way. They don't need them to push buttons no more. They got machines doing that. Tesla said they're actually going to make their car fully automated in the United States, total vertical integration through machines. There's less of a need for people to do those things. Is that bad? Not at all. It gives you more time to do something productive. Utilize your intelligence in a more efficient manner. So I encourage you all to look at what's going on in the United States from a business perspective. Stick to business, stay to business. The president that's in the United States right now is a great example of that because he's a businessman. It's usually you see lifelong politicians in office. You see people that are just politicians. This is somebody that says, I'm a businessman and I'm going to do business here. So when they don't address national issues such as race and things of that nature, they're businessmen. They hire African Americans. Are you serious? They don't need to address race issues when they're hiring other races. That's the facts. They keep it business. And I just encourage you all to look at it that way. I know it might sound harsh, and I know people may say, oh, you don't sound like you're sensitive to people and sensitive to humanity and stuff like that. I'm going to tell you where humanity comes in place. You want to know where humanity comes in place? It comes in place of business. It falls right back to business. Humanitarianism is a tax write-off. How is it not a business? When I hear people talk about they're going into charity and they talk about, whoa, I have a nonprofit. You have a nonprofit. That means you're not going to make any money? No, that's not. You need to go look at the legal definition. I did an episode on nonprofits versus tax exempt. It's business. Charities are business. You have to make some type of capital. You have to have some type of form of capital in charity to do business. I mean, some type of charity business to do charity. It's a business. So I encourage you all to, I know it might sound harsh, brothers and sisters. I know it does. Just do business and wake up and do business every day. But I can tell you right now, if you guys want to wake up with a smile on your face, the faster you get used to that, the faster you understand that this society is not as bad as people think it is. And I'm specifically talking about the United States jurisdiction. It's not. It's an opportunity for you to grow and know how to develop it. This is an organic society. The laws change all the time. So I encourage you all to look at it from that manner. I'm going to take a few more questions here on a live chat. I really do appreciate all the interaction tonight. I just thank you all. I definitely am going to, I'm doing episodes every day in August. So be out on the lookout. Like I say, skills versus intelligence, because there's a level of intelligence you have to actually do business in the United States. And, just going off what everyone says, yeah, sure, that'll get you what everybody else has, which once again, most of the people are in the United States complaining about raising minimum wage. Did you notice that there's no maximum wage? There's a minimum, but there's no maximum. Minimum is charity. Do it for yourself. He says, I have an EIN number. Do I need to create a corporation for a foreign or domestic entity in my own state? So this is how the internet operates. People have misinformation and they do things in a manner that could get them, in a bad position. Now, I don't give legal advice. It's stated in the description. So what you're asking me is just what I would do. First of all, I wouldn't have an EIN number for any entity that I don't have substantiated on paper first. So if it was a public entity, me going to apply for a corporation, like say I was going to start a corporation, right, in the public. That means I'm going to go to the Secretary of State. I'm going to let them know depending on what state you're in, who's the manager or who's the organizer and where they can mail the documents to. After that, I'm going to go get a EIN number for the entity because the entity is alive, because the IRS can't give you a number for an entity that's not alive. And I usually like doing the substantiation, which is called the paperwork aspect, before I go get a number. It's sort of like you have a birth certificate before you get a social security number. So that's how I would operate. Even for a foreign entity, I would have foreign documentation drafted, and then I would put it in the perspective of having I would go get the number afterwards, because that's the way that it's best to go about doing it. If you would like to know how to get in class, once again, email me at hfrn.vault@gmail.com, because you may just need a consultation for where you're at right now, or you want to put yourself in a position where you can get into private trustee training, which is a series and a class series for sure. And that's hfrn.vault@gmail.com. So I do look forward to hearing from you. Do it for yourself now. There's somebody that kind of has like a little, I don't know how to say it, but they have a great name. JLH5984. I hear you and I appreciate you. And much respect to you. I thank you for tuning in live. Please don't think that I take this position lightly. I think anytime you step into public, you have a social responsibility to be accountable for your words and your actions. I do my best to live at the highest level of integrity because that's what I was raised by. I was raised by men of integrity. So I don't have an issue in that department of my life. So I appreciate you all for tuning in live or even in the replay, listening this long, 50 something minutes into it. I encourage you all to share this with your friends and family when it comes to the birth certificate, trade name, and social security number. If you would like to get a consultation, even if you wanted to do it, like say you all have friends and you want to do business together, you all can get a consultation together. You don't have to do it separately. See, the issue is most people aren't unified and you don't have a team. You got to, if you got friends and y'all want to do business together, you can get a consultation together. It's not gonna the price of it's not gonna go up because it's 2, 3, or 4 or 5 people on the line. It's the hour is the hour. And I'm letting you all know it's not always going to be the same, brothers and sisters. I am training people right now to put them in a position that I'm in. So they will be on the air and they will be talking about this and I can move on to do other things. But I do love talking to you all. I'll just do it in another medium, more in a different charitable aspect. But I do appreciate talking to you all. And that's why I have trustee training, is because once you get into a trust, see, you might think it's all about you, but what's important is putting yourself in a position where you have a successor trustee. See, a lot of people don't think about successor trustees, but that was the first thing I was instructed to do when I got in my trust, was think about who am I going to train to put this to keep my family legacy going on from generation to generation. That's what the Rothschilds did. That's what the Rockefellers did. The Rothschilds children or the Rockefeller children, they might not even manage the trust that they're benefiting from. They might have other people, which I'm sure they do. They have other people in place that their families have groomed to be in the trustee position to manage their estates for generations to generation. Now, I know that that's a big stretch for people's thinking, but you have to make that decision on whether you're going to stretch your thinking that far, whether you're going to think like long term. Period. I mean, it's crazy how to know that the Rothschilds have been living for over 200 generations. 200 years. And you trying to tell me your family can't? They already showed that it can be done. It's up to you now to do the same thing. Success is at least breadcrumbs. You can do the same thing. I'm a big duplicator. So, I'm kind of wanted out here, but like I said, please just look at this jurisdiction as a commercial jurisdiction and don't look at it as, as anything other than that. It's a commercial jurisdiction. Please share that with your children. I have Trelly Goodwin says trustee training is an awesome class. She said it's worth the investment, and that is exactly true. Thank you, Trelly, for saying that. I don't want to put Trelly out there in any type of manner, but I appreciate her in all respects because I know that she's someone that invests in her private education. I commend her for investing in her private education, and I thank her for investing in her private education because that is what we need. That is why I'm on the air, is to create a private community of people that know how to administer their lives with the highest level of integrity and utilizing trust to actually do so. Because that is the highest position in commerce, is utilizing trust instruments. The social security number is a trust instrument. It's just not the best one. Then they give you a public entity called an EIN in the public, and you're utilizing the EINs from the public with commercial entities, or public entities such as a corp, S corp, or C corp. But no. They're still even more sophisticated now. That's why they have private corporations, private companies, because there is a private aspect of business, and that is what I aim to educate people on, is the private aspect. Is it illegal? No. It's the right to contract. Article 1, Section 10. Everyone has the right to contract. Period. But the average person doesn't know that. They think they're at the whim of whatever contract they sign. Why? Because they're usually signing adhesory or adhesion contracts. ADHESION. ADHESION. An adhesion contract. It's where the government trust is in place and they say, well, look, we're the trustees, so we're going to run your life. And the average individual, the average individual doesn't want to administer their life from a position of own nothing, control everything. They want to benefit from everything. They want to own everything. And that's why they're going to be taxed to death, and literally just that. And, they won't be able to pass on their wealth to their children without having a state involved in it. So I just thank you all for tuning in live. JLH598484 said, you couldn't agree more. Getting into training. I look forward to you joining us in the training. Once again, if you would like to get in private trustee training, hfrn.vault at gmail.com. We have a private community that we work with. It's focused on individuals utilizing trust to actually administer their lives. I definitely am going to get to an episode this week. I might do that next Tuesday where we talk about, even if you are an employee, can you benefit from having a trust? Because I think a lot of people, they're employees. I know they are. We live in a society where 80% of the people walking around are employees, and they want to know, well, what's the benefit of having a trust? Can I really do some damage? And you can definitely do some damage. The whole purpose of having a trust in place so you don't have a job. You're supposed to be working for your last name, not for your first name. But that's the issue. That's what they call you at your job, right? Your first name, unless you're in the military. And the military honors people's families. It honors family. So I usually don't do hour episodes, but this was a great topic. If we have any more questions, go ahead and spit it out in the next 30 seconds. Otherwise, I just appreciate you all. I understand that there's a nationalist movement going on in our community where people are trying to claim that they're Moors and claim that they're this and claim that they're that. But like I told you all, that nationality stuff, your religious stuff, all that stuff is private. When you're in the public, in the commercial jurisdiction, you better play by the rules or you're going to get wiped out like you're surfing. Period. It's all about business. It ain't personal. That's the issue. It's those people that are a part of those groups, they're focused on personal issues. Does the United States honor their right to religion? Or does the United States honor their right to their nationality? Of course it does. But guess what? What does that have to do if you generate money with a social security number? You got tax liability. What does that have to do with the trust gaining money and it has tax liability? It's that simple. This is business, baby. Please, I encourage you all to think from that perspective. I know it sounds a little brutish, but I mean, hey, it keeps us all in alignment. It keeps us operating in a position of integrity. Not just using our emotional whims of, well, my nationality says this, so I don't fall up under this law. No, when you in a commercial jurisdiction, the commercial laws are the same for everybody. Period. It's about commercial jurisdiction now. It's not about national jurisdiction. It's not about religious jurisdiction. Why? They don't even allow that into the courtroom. They don't even allow that into the venues. Why? It's not necessary. Because it's commerce. Anything think about it. Everything's daggone dealing with money. It's always dealing with money. That means it's commerce. A charge is dealing with commerce. Penal charges, penal, is still dealing with money. It's all about money. It's all about it. Money is energy. Money is a reflection of how much you put out to get back. Now the difference is, once again, that's why I need to do an episode on it. Look, you can either dig a ditch or you can create a machine to dig a ditch. You have to utilize some intelligence and commerce. So I thank you all for tuning in live. Please share this with your friends and family. Please subscribe to the page. But I just thank you all. I look forward to serving you all. Subscribe so you can get the notifications for the episodes every day, at least for August. And I'll be broadcasting every Tuesday for sure at 8 p.m. But throughout this week, I might not be broadcasting for the rest of the week exactly at 8. It might be at 7 East Coast time or 7:30, wherever you are. The times are a little off. But just know that I'm looking to bring content to you. So just look out for it. I thank you all for tuning in live. Peace to you all, and you all enjoy the rest of your day, and be productive and go after your goals and your dreams, because you all deserve it. Peace.